Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Please introduce yourself in the comments. It'd be good to know that you're here. I can see a few of you are already here, which is jolly good. Crumbs. Who have we got in? We've got Hayden. We've got hi Hayden. We've got Decent. How you doing? Good to see you, old boy. We've got Jack. I like the picture, and we've got Jack again. We've got another time, which is always good. We've got Jack. You need to donate £10,000, please. More. Manor, how are you doing? Es gibt viele Geschäfte, man kann Kleider ohne Andenken kaufen kann. Am Samstag habe ich ein schwarzes Hemd gekauft. Es war prima. Ganz gut. Ausgezeichnet. Do the whole thing in German just to really confuse everyone. Hayden, how you doing? Mehar, how are you? Oh, I like your picture. That's very snazzy. Dom, how you doing? Good to see you. Loads of you in. That's all looking very, very good. Fabulous. So we have quite a lot to do today. So I'm going to crack on and try to get it all done. Who have we got here? We've got Chocolate Killer. I've killed quite a lot of chocolate in my time. How are you, Chocolate Killer? Nice to see you. Good job. Pablo, how you doing? Thanks for joining us, old boy. Nice to see you. Yeah, so this is good. We've got loads and loads and loads. This is outstanding. Oh, who have we got? We've got Manor again. So, guys, I'm going to crack on. Let's get on to this. This is the grand plan today. Network hardware, SQL, and code maintenance. So we'll do about 3 months worth of... Oh, hello, Zainab. How are you doing? Thanks for being here. Sanuka, wrong account. Haroon, how you doing? We've got lots of you. Okay. That's great. So this is the grand plan today. Ladies and gents, we're going to look at network hardware, and that's the hardware that you need to connect to a network. You need to know what different bits do. And we're going to look at SQL, structured query language for databases. And then we're going to go on to code maintenance. That is the grand plan. So let's kick off with network hardware first. This from the spec, wireless access point, or WAPs, W-A-P-S, routers and switches. You need to know what they do, what they're for, and NICs, the network interface card or network interface controller, okay? And then transmission media, which is a fancy way for saying cables or wireless, but different sorts, copper and fiber optic, Gucci versus Lidl, that sort of thing. Be precise with your explanations. That's the key thing. Hi, Decent, how are you doing? This is the first network interface card. So your regular computer, your desktop, I guess you'd call it, would have one of these in the back, and it usually comprises that port. Ooh, let me just show you what I'm talking about here. Can I get to this thing here? You see, that is where your Cat 6 cable goes. I think it's Cat 8 now, because it's each new one carries the data more quickly. Each new generation of Cat cable carries the data more quickly. There are loads of you here. Is Zora in? Hi, Zora. So that is where the Cat cable goes in. That sits on the back of your computer, and this thing is called a network interface card. So it connects a computer to a network. So you plug your Cat 6 cable into that port, and it can be cabled or wireless. So it's usually got a cable connection and a wireless connection. And it uses the Ethernet protocol. I know from last time, protocol is a set of rules that govern how data is, I guess, organized and sent, organized and transmitted, how it's put together. So then we've got UTP copper cable, which is the Ethernet port. The Ethernet cable, is made of copper, and that's often integrated into the motherboard or device. So that is your network interface card, right? That's the first thing we need to worry about. Let's push on and have a look at this one. This is a wireless access point. What's confusing is these next couple of things. They often, in terms of what we get at home, they come in one box, but they've got these different components inside them. So these are individual devices that do a job, and they might well ask you what a wireless access point does. So it can be hardware, or it can be some software on a local area network. Hi, Ishak, how are you? Thank you for coming. So what does a wireless access point do? It allows wireless capable devices. So think iPhone, think PS5, think Xbox, switch, etc., all that sort of stuff. It allows your wireless capable devices to connect to a wired network. And the connection is made through the wireless standard. And we looked at standards last week. A 3-pin plug, I'll put my fingers up like 3, so that really helps you understand, is an example of a standard. We looked at Bluetooth. Do you remember the exciting story of King Harold something from about 69 AD, who had a Bluetooth and he brought Norway and Denmark together? That's why it's called Bluetooth. That was the story. So either Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are different standards and they both suit different purposes. Wi-Fi's got a much longer range, for example. So WAP is also known as a hotspot. So when we say, is there a hotspot, we're talking about a WAP connection. So that is your wireless access point. Let's go on to the next one. And this is a router. The top sentence there is the one, ich plugge in Bluetooth. I think that's dubious German, to be fair. Your router. That top sentence there is the one that you need for the exam. It forwards data packets between networks. So for example, your local area network, which is where you've got all your stuff at home, and then the wide area network, which is the internet. And what it does is it reads the, hi Krish, how are you doing? Thanks for coming. I think I've said hello to Ishak, haven't I? You are a good man, Krish, well done, outstanding. So that's what it does. It forwards data packets between different networks. That is what this particular piece of hardware does. It reads the final destination address of packets. Data is chopped up into packets and sent across the network because it's more efficient to send it in small chunks. And it will send it to a router closer to its destination. And then IP, Internet Protocol, calculates the best way of routing data. So that is what a router does. Right, let's go on to the next one if we can. What have we got here? A wireless router, exactly the same, except it's wireless. So it does exactly the same thing, okay? The advantage, though, of a wireless router is that you can see I've crossed it through with red to mean that you don't need cables. So therefore, you don't have to alter the fabric of the building, which is a fancy way of saying you haven't got to drill holes to put cables through. Okay, you haven't got to mess up your beautiful building in order to put cabling in. So that's why wireless is quite good, but wireless is more expensive to install. However, wireless does have slower transmission speeds. In the exam, don't talk about big, small, fast, slow. Talk about transmission speeds and capacity. I think we've been there before. This accuracy, this precision, is what will get you that extra grade in the exam. So this wireless router is often combined with a switch and a modem and sometimes a wireless access point too. So it all comes in one big box. Right, that is your wireless router. How are we doing time-wise? I'm trying to get a move on here. 37, 7 minutes. Okay, switch. A switch allows a connection between ports or devices, and it avoids data collisions. So a switch, it's the connection between ports and devices. So you can connect to different ports and devices using a switch. That top line there is what you need in the exam if you've got to describe what a switch does. They love to have a picture of it or a description of it, and then you've got to, or the word switch, and then when you've got to draw lines between the name of it and the actual description of it, the definition of it. There we go. I knew I'd get there eventually. So that's what you need to know. All right, so that is everything you need to know on network hardware. Network hardware is quite easy, but make sure you can describe what a router does. Yes, now this is a very good point. It's interrupted by hills, by walls. So if you've got a really thick wall, you need to put in loads and loads of wireless routers. So if you've got an old Victorian building that's got walls that are half a foot thick, it's going to cost an absolute fortune to put in wireless because you need so many of the you need so many wireless connection points. Transmission media. This is a fancy way of saying cabling. So let's jump in and have a look at the different sorts of cabling that we get. So this of course, this is a Cat5 cable, an Ethernet cable, because Ethernet is the protocol that you use in your local area network. So when you're moving data between your printer or up to your router, it's the Ethernet protocol you're using. And this is an Ethernet cable. It's called a Cat5 or a Cat6. I think we're up to Cat8 cables now. And this is a very fast way of transmitting data, much quicker than wireless. There is a faster one, but we'll get to that in a second. So that is your Ethernet cable. All right, then we've got the so the Ethernet cable is a copper cable. and it's connected using copper wire. It's fast data transmissions. Don't just say fast data transmissions. Reliable, minimal interference, thin and flexible, easy to install. So that's why you might choose wireless. It's the cheapest, it's the least expensive option, copper cable, and that's why it is. How can you sit on Wi-Fi? I don't know where to go with that question. I'll contemplate that one deeply. I don't know what you mean. I wouldn't recommend sitting on anything. It could be quite painful. So then we've got inside the cable, and this is in the spec. It's called inside the cable. So if you opened up a Cat 6 cable and you looked inside it, it would look like that. And those little cables are twisted together. So the reason that it's called a twisted pair, not because they're evil and they're plotting your destruction, but because they're twisted around each other, right? Twisted pair. The reason that's done is because interference, you get less interference. When you're using computer systems, interference, say for example with audio, interference is a buzzing noise. And if you've, oh, someone sat on their Wi-Fi. Okay, I understand. So this is called a twisted pair, and that's what sits inside your Cat 5 cable, and they're twisted to reduce interference. All right, now we come to the Gucci solution, which is fiber optic cable. Fiber optic, inside fiber optic, it's glass. So and it's pulses of light that are sent through a reflective material, and as we all know, light travels at 186,000 miles per second, which is also known as quite quickly. So the quickest thing that there is light. Nothing's quicker. That's what Einstein said anyway, and he's a lot smarter than me. So if you send data along pulses of light through fiber optic cable, it's hard to beat that. That's what it looks like. You don't need to know that, but you know, I'm a nerd, so that's quite interesting. You've got the outer jacket, something to give it strength, the strength member, as it's rather dubiously called. Then you've got some coating, some cladding, and at the core, that's where you've got the bit that where the data is sent along pulses of light. So what's it good for? It's very good at sending packets of data long distances. If you try to use copper cable to send data huge distances, you would need repeaters because the signal drops over tens and hundreds of meters. The signal inside a copper cable drops. Whereas fiber optic cable, it doesn't do that. It just keeps going. So you can send data packets long distances, high performance. You can send very high bandwidth. You can send a lot of data very quickly. Light transmitted across glass fibers. You don't get data loss because of the reflection inside the cabling. You don't get interference. It's very good for putting in horrible conditions, cold, wet, underwater. So the underwater cabling between here and the US of A, fiber optic, because it doesn't deteriorate being underwater. Copper cable gets ruined when it gets wet. If you leave some copper cable out outside for a winter, it'll go all brittle and nasty and horrible. Fiber optic doesn't do that. However, disadvantage is fiber optic is blinking expensive. It really is pricey. So that's the downside there. All right, wireless networks. Wireless networks are really common. And inside your house, I bet that it's partially a wireless network. It is with me, although I'm surrounded by millions of cables here. But a wireless network is very common. You haven't got to make any alterations to the building, and it means that connecting new devices is really easy. So when friends come round, you can give them your password rather than having to give them a cable to plug in, which then someone will trip over and everyone will die. And that's not a good thing. Disadvantage of wireless networks, transmission speeds, not as good wireless as they are when you use a wired connection. There's also the danger of getting data intercepted, and you get slower transfer speeds if lots of people jump onto the same connection. So your bandwidth, if you share bandwidth with others, so if you're at home and your sister's on the Xbox, you're on Spotify, someone else is on something else, and you'll have noticed this during lockdown, the general speed for everyone just slows down because you're each taking a chunk of that bandwidth. All right, so that is your wireless networks. So how can you prevent people accessing it? You can use you can restrict. Now, do you remember this MAC address? My dog's trying to get in. MAC addresses, they are the addresses that are hardwired into your hardware. So you can restrict internet access to only certain bits of hardware where you type in the address. That's one way of doing it. You can also hide the WSSI. Now that is, you know, when you when a friend a Big Mac address, yeah, you know when you connect to someone's network and they can decide what they want to call it, so it'll beam out. I think mine says bikers or something like that. So you can actually hide that, so that people don't know that it's there. Hello Ziggy, how are you doing? I didn't realise you were there. Nice to see you. So that's another option you've got there, is to hide the WSSI, or to use Wi-Fi encryption, or you can encrypt the signals. Encryption, don't forget, is a way of making the data meaningless if it's intercepted. Whew. Okay, we're moving. SQL now. Rukshan, hello dear boy, how are you? Nice to see you. We've got quite a few in today. We've had 30, that's pretty good. Structured query language. This is easy, by the way. I know some of you find the whole coding thing a bit bamboozling. Honestly, I know I say this each time, but SQL is an absolute piece of cake, because really you only have to do two things. Allow me to elaborate further. Data is stored in a database. When you use Spotify, Netflix, whatever, all of those films are stored in a database, and you've got all these different fields like movie genre, like movie length, director, etc., 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 star rating. All of this stuff is saved in fields in a database, and each if you imagine an Excel spreadsheet, which is fundamentally what a database is, each record is going from left to right. So if it had Peeglin Thomas, male, 53, teacher, blah, 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 that would be one record going across from left to right in Excel, right? But then you've got the individual attributes where it's got name, age, and so on, and those are the columns going from left to right. So you've got records stored all the way across, but then the columns themselves, those are the different attributes. So what you're going to have to do is query a database, ask it questions. Find this record in this database, and you need to write the code to do that. And it's pretty easy, I can tell you. And you use something called SQL, Structured Query Language. And those of you who haven't fallen asleep by this point in my lesson will remember that an SQL injection is one of the ways that you can disrupt a node. You can disrupt a database. All right, so here's what you do. Fasten your seatbelts. SQL, you only need to know 3 commands. Well, 4. The extra one is the asterisk. Remind me if I don't talk about the wildcard, which means select all. So you're gonna break up your query like this. You're gonna say select, and you're gonna say what you're selecting. Then you say from, which is the table you're selecting it from, and then you say where it meets a certain condition. So select is going to be your attribute. So remember I was talking about columns along the top of a database. That's the select. So you say select this column. If you want to select multiple columns, you put commas between them. So if you imagine a database, a spreadsheet that's got name, age, address going across in columns, you would say select the age and address column, but you don't write that. Or you could do select star to select everything there. They love that wildcard question. What's the wildcard to select all? Star. And you say from. With the from, you write in the name of the table. From student table, whatever they call the table. And somewhere in the question, they will say what the table's called. And then you say the attributes. Where student name equals Mary. Where any condition that you want. And that particular query will return the Mary's age, or just Mary's age, and address from the student table. Okay, so have a look at this one here. This might be slightly easier now. In front of you, you have a table. And let me just show you this. If I go across to here, where's it gone? Aha, now these are the attributes. Student ID is one attribute, last name's another attribute, initials an attribute, and age is an attribute, all right? Let's get rid of those. And then we've got this, which is a record. So that's a record. And then each of these individually are the attributes, okay? So you start off by saying select. So when you do select, let's go back to here, you're then going to select which of these you want. So you might say select student ID. In fact, I've gone for an example there. I said select age. Where's my thingy? Select age, which is this attribute, from, and I'm going to say from enrollment, because that'll tell me over here, that's the name of the table, where, and can you see down here, I've said where age is less than 20. So which of you brain surgeons can tell me what the outcome of that would be? What would that bring? Yeah, less than 20. But which records would that bring up? Who would we be talking about if we said select age from enrollment spreadsheet where age is less than 20? Which people would that be? YH? Which of those ages is less than 20? Yeah, Wilson and Thompson, spot on. So it's these two here. So have a look at this again. Yeah, Wilson, Thompson, Zora has got it. Let me give you some appreciative dings. Wilson and Thompson, Wilson and Thompson, Wilson and Thompson. Literally, guys, that's all you've got to do. You've got to remember select, from, and where. And that's SQL done and dusted. Apart from the, yeah, let's have a look. We've got loads of people who got this right. In fact, so many that I won't even bother going through it. So that's outstanding. You are all heroes. You should probably have a... have I got a round of applause? No, I've got a woman screaming. There we go, that'll have to do instead. All this. That's not very appreciative, sorry. I won't do that one again. So Command E. All right, so that's that one. Let's go on to the next one. How much time have I got left? Only 9 minutes. Right, come on, computer, don't let me down now. Defensive design. This is really easy. I'm going to go through this at 1,000 miles. Ishak, we're done in 8 minutes time. 8 minutes time. Half an hour is all I'm going to do because we're all busy people. So why do you design programs defensively? To avoid errors, misuse, and programs crashing. All right. So these are the checks you will need to, I'll send you the PDF after this. These are the different checks you can do. A range check. A range check makes sure the numbers between a certain number and a certain number. So in this case, a range check between 10 and 20 would accept numbers between 10 and 20 and reject everything else. A length check. A length check, well, do you know what? I would do an hour, but I've made it half an hour on purpose because I just think an hour is a long time to listen to me. It's not an issue for me to do it, but I know that people get a bit, it's quite hard to listen to it for that long. We've got a length check. So for example, for a phone number, which is 11 digits, you could make it a length check that the program will only accept something that's 11 digits long. Won't accept 10. Well, it won't accept anything less than 11 or greater than 11. Well, you know when you go and join a website and it will ask for your phone number and it'll reject anything that isn't that length. The same as the next one, presence check. Presence check is not to give you presents. Nothing to do with Darth Vader. This is whether it's there. So, for example, if you're collecting email addresses, you would want there to be an @ in there. You know, one of these, you know what an @ thing is. I'm sure you do. One of these little jobs here. Where's it gone? Where's my thingy gone? One of these, which I've drawn really badly. So you want one of those there. So you could do a presence check to say reject it unless there is an @ symbol there. Then we've got a format check. So thinking about date, you know how you can collect date in different formats, and very often it says make sure you put it as date, month, year, or year, date, month, whichever one you choose to do. The Japanese have the best one, which is year, month, date, but there we are. The Americans have got a weird one. And then you've got type check. So for example, you're only going to take in an integer or a real or Boolean. So those are the different types of. So that's how you can make sure that the data going into your system is clean and it does what you want it to do. All right. So that's the validation checks. Anticipating misuse. Input sanitization is one way that you can do that, and they love this question. So this is what you would do to prevent an SQL injection. You would check the data that gets entered before it goes into the system and to remove any potential problems. Yeah, I mean that is making sure that that's to prevent a brute force attack where people guess try and guess your password and username by using dictionary words. Okay, and then we've got authentication, and that's username and passwords that they must check. Bear in mind, the reason I've put this down here is that usernames and passwords don't necessarily stop unauthorized users if they've got the username and password. So that's not a get out of jail card. Concerning the last time I was in Smith's, they had a little notebook you could buy which said internet usernames and passwords. It's so stupid. Okay, where are we? 5 minutes. It's going to be a push. Not going to have time for much quizzing, I'm afraid, but I did try and bite off quite a lot today, so this is going to be mainly me talking for the next 5 minutes, I'd have said. Right, use of subprograms. This is using subprograms. Why would you do that? Because, so rather than having all of your code in one gigantic, great, big block, you would do modules or submodules, subprograms, to make the code easier to understand. The code goes in blocks, and it can also be reused, which makes the total number of lines of code you write fewer, and also means the code will run faster, and also makes the size in memory that the code takes up smaller. Okay, naming conventions. So don't do S, do size. Name variables close to what they are, and don't put space between names. So house num is what you would use, and not house num. Spaces in high-level languages don't go down very well, often throws up errors. Depends on the language that you're using, but it can often throw up errors. Whoa, okay, I almost got there. Maintainability, indentation, which is when you start the second line slightly further in. You do that for it when you're using constructs like iteration and selection, and it's easier to spot the lines of code. And use comments, which is 2 forward slashes. Wow, we've got there, and we've actually got to the quizzing time as well. I never thought I'd get through that in half an hour. That is just astonishing. So, quiz time. 10 points for the first correct answer, like I'm going to remember. What about this one? I used the 802.11 standard to forward packets between networks. What am I? Note, I'm not asking you to tell me what I am, because I know that already. So there's no need to worry about that too much. But I used the 802.11 standard for what am I? It's a what am I question. Oh, we've got packet sender. Okay, we're definitely in the right area. What else do we think? Packet sender. We've got a switch from Dom. We've got a man. Okay, we've got a switch. We've got a switch here from Manure. Okay, a packet switch from Rukshan. Zora says IP. It's better than the man answer. We've got Mayhar, who said I didn't see what the question was. Okay, we've got switch. Right, let's put you out of my misery. Hayden's gone for a switch. Ishak has gone for a switch. So has Kay. Hello, Kay. Welcome. So the answer is a wireless router. So you were all wrong. I'm so proud. Let's move on to the next one. I use the Ethernet protocol. Notice, please don't be as rubbish this time. I would appreciate that. What about this one? Jack says, what's the question? No change there, Jack. So what about this one? You did get it right. Yes, good man, you did get it right. You were close. Okay, Zora has said for this one, router. Decent said router. The thing you plug into your computer. You're going far. I predict an outstanding grade for you. Ishak has said KMT, which I hope doesn't mean anything rude. And Hayden has said router. Let's see what this says. It is a network interface card. So, like I say, this I'm feeling really good right now about my teaching because this is clearly going so well. You know, it says Ethernet protocol. That's what the Nick does. So you need to go. Well, you might need to go and revise for this for the exam because it is going to be in there. Okay, I can switch connection between devices. If you keep saying router each time, eventually you will get something right. A stop clock is right twice a day. I'm so proud. Well, at least you got the word Ethernet in there, to be fair, Chris, so that's something. A switch, says Zora. A switch, says Hayden. Bluetooth, says E. Kay says a switch. Mehar says a switch. Krish says a switch. All right, you're all saying switch. You're all saying switch. Okay. Shall we see if you're correct? Hallelujah. It has finally happened. I am so delighted. It had to happen eventually. You got something right. I'm very, very pleased. I'm far behind the answers. Am I? Oh, okay. Okay, I'll try to speed up. 1 minute left. I am the fastest transmission media. What am I? I'm the fastest transmission media. What am I? Oh, I can see the answers coming in. I've got fibre optic flooding in. I've got Zora, optical cable, decent fibre optic, optic. You are all absolutely outstanding. So I think you should have some celebratory music. That wasn't very celebratory, actually. Let's go for this next one. Come on, computer, don't let me down now. What does UTP stand for? By the way, all of you guys were right. You were all right. You're all superstars. You're all a bit rubbish on network interface cards, but let's leave that alone for the time being. What does UTP stand for? What do we think? UTP. What do we think? Is optic cable same as Ethernet cable? So fibre optic cable is a different type of cable. It's much faster, and you would typically plug Ethernet cable from your computer into the router, and then your internet service provider would then have fibre optic cable that would take it elsewhere. Okay. Something twisted pair. I like it. Zainab, welcome. Unshielded twisted pair. Yes, you're all very twisted. That's outstanding. It was indeed twisted pair. That's the guy. What about this one? I shall play you some happy music. Okay, not that one. What about this one? There we go. The happy sitar. Which protocol would an NIC use? Ah, the twisted thing. Outstanding. Unshielded twisted pair. You were right. You like your twisted pairs. I think it's probably best you keep that to yourself, but each person to their own thing. Pablo has said Ethernet protocol. He was the first. Kay said Ethernet. Rukshan said Internet. Dom said Ethernet. Decent. Manure TCP. Oh, Manure. Honestly. So let's have a look, shall we, and see what it says. It says Ethernet protocol. Here is... oh no, that's a whip. Okay. No, that's no good neither. Ooh, there we go. That's better. I have gone over time, which I feel slightly bad about. Do you want me to finish these questions? So this one is... Ooh, it's an exciting round of Guess the Question. And I thought about this. I thought this up all by myself. So I give you the answer and you guess the question. What do you think this is? To be fair, I haven't... I'm hoping that is, shall I push on and do a bit more? This, by the way, I haven't covered today, which is a bit unhelpful of me, but this is a question that appears so regularly in exams. Ooh, I like this. Yeah, well, do you know what, Zora? You're absolutely spot on. Go learn German. German's quite solid, to be fair. Zora said the right thing here, but we needn't worry about it being a wireless network. That was two benefits of a local area network. So when you discuss networks in the exam, come on, computer. When you discuss networks in the exam, I go back to here. You see this idea of sharing. Let's go and use my little rectangle tool. Look how many times you can use the word share. You can share files. You can share hardware. You can share an internet connection. That's on there somewhere, I'm sure, but you can. You can work together. You can collaborate using IM. So these are all the things that you can do using a local area network. That's what networks are incredibly good for. So that is jolly good. I will push on a little bit longer then. Guess the question. X is over a large geographical area, needs to transmit, and Y, so this is an X and a Y. What is X? Zora, Deutsch ist sehr gut. Well, I mean, you're spelling of Deutsch there. Yee, that's not so good. So X is over a large geographical area. This is literally their favourite question. OCR. Ooh, now hang on. We've got Rukshan with what is a WAN? Oh, I'll tell you, a WAN is a wide area network, which is lots of networks wired together. Like the internet is a WAN. Jack, X is a WAN. Oh, difference between LAN and WAN. Oh, you're so good. That is good. Some of you are getting it right here, and I've lost you. What is a WAN and a LAN? Yeah, okay, that is good. That is good. That is good. I should play some happy noises. There's a ding. So the question was, loads of you got this one right. The question was, identify two differences between a LAN and a WAN. Literally, they love this question. They also love routers. They cannot bear to go an entire exam series, OCR, without mentioning routers somewhere. They are slightly obsessed with what routers do. So make sure you've got that definition in there. Oh, this is big. Indentation, that should be not indentations. Naming conventions and commenting are all defensive design practices that help programmers read and understand the code they need to maintain. What other defensive design practice helps programmers to do this? This was one that I mentioned earlier. Can you remember? It had to do with not storing everything in one big block of code. Any ideas about that one? I really should update my sounds, but I've got a whole... Oh, look, I've got this one too. That's quite annoying. Encryption. Oh, I fell asleep there for a second. Zora has said encryption. Zainab has said... Oh, look at Zainab. Zainab's on fire. I mean, not literally, I hope not. But Zainab deserves some hero music. You get a whistle. That's what I've got. So Zainab has said the use of subprograms. That is outstanding. Well done. You are a superstar. Yes, I know. Well, it's free, isn't it? So there's all sorts of really quite irritating music like this. What about this one? If we look at some pseudocode, look at line 4 of the pseudocode or pseudocode below. The code is formatted using... Oh, I can use this sound. The code is formatted using... Because it's part of an if statement. What one word completes the sentence? Ooh, so decent, by the way, you were right. E has said output. Indentation, that was from the previous one, wasn't it? Indentation. This code is formatted using... Ooh, this looks good. We've got indentation. Oh, you're all so fast. You're making millions of answers here. In the encryption subroutines, that was before. Let me get back down to here. The feed I get here is slightly slower. That was the indentation. Let's have a look and see what we've got. The answer is indentation. You are all superstars. Let's push on a little bit then. Okay, what about this one? Oh, come on, computer. Stop it. Okay, question 3. Authenticating users, which only I could read, regularly updating programs and writing code that's easy to read are all ways of using design. What word completes the sentence? Oh, blimey, you're so quick. We've got Rukshan who's coming straight away with defensive. Decent, defensive. Yeah, you're all absolutely spot on. It is defensive. You are all heroes. The answer is defensive. What about this one? This one is slightly more complicated. What do we think of this one? Which test has flagged up an error that needs to be investigated? Oh, you're also good. Dom said defensive. Ishak said defensive. So did Krish. So did Hayden. So did Jack. Ooh, pen test. Interesting. Which test has flagged up? Yeah, pen test is a type of test for sure. Yeah. You know what? Glasses do help tremendously. I can tell you that much. Is that really small on your screens? I think if you're looking at a phone, it'll be tiny. But ooh, hello. We've got Rukshan who's saying 1. We've got Zora saying 4. Zora's saying 4. Has said 3. You've actually given me a sore throat saying your name. Rukshan said 1. Dom said 3. Okay, should we have a look and see which one it is? Bum, bum, bum. The answer is 3. Loads of you got it right. Pablo got it right. E got it right. Dom got it right. Yeah, loads of you got it right. It better be 1. I'm sorry to break it to you gently there. Actually, maybe 4. It is 3, okay? Because invalid -1 the test data was -1 to test that only numbers between 0 and 100. Let me do my rectangle tool, my favourite rectangle tool. Look here. To test, the purpose of the test is to make sure that only numbers between 0 and 100 are accepted. They typed in -1 and the input was accepted, which is a big case of, because it should have been rejected, right? That is the case there. Shall I push on and finish these? I've only got a couple left, actually. Question 5. Look at the pseudocode. What type of error? My class had better be good at this. What type of error would occur in this program? We did some work on errors, didn't we? We've got the choice of a syntax error or a logic error. Which one do we think it is? So we've got syntax. We've got Okay, well, you're hedging your bets there, Manure. Decent says syntax. Manure says syntax. Rukshan says syntax. Okay, Smarty Pants, which line is the syntax error on, do we think? Tell me which line. Jack says syntax. Dom says syntax. Zora says syntax. Not logic, which leaves us with syntax. They used to do runtime errors too. They dropped that out of the spec. So Hayden says line 5. Print you have. Okay, shall we see? The answer is logic error indeed. Okay. So maybe have a look back and, rather than me giving the answer, have a look back and see where the logic error is in that. All right. We're down to the last one now, I think. Come on, computer. Here we go. Last question. You've written the program that asks the user to input their age. Now you want to check the right message is displayed if the user enters an unrealistic number. What type of test should you do? And given that we have signposted this quite a lot, make sure that you know about this testing for the mock. All right. Compiler. I think more German. Boundary. Oh, at least we're now talking about the right sort of tests. I think there was a typo. Oh, was there? I'll have to go back and look at that if there was. The good thing is I can blame Miss Silver because she wrote that question, so it'll be her fault, not mine. A type check. Okay. Have they really? Australia going to win enough but France? Oh, I'll have to go and watch that. Okay, definitely last question then. So what do we think? What type of test data should you use? So don't forget, we've got a choice of 3, haven't we? And let's finish this one then with the answer, especially if the French are losing, invalid data. So have a look at the different tests that you do, okay? So you've got the valid data, invalid data, and boundary data. Guys, you have been an absolute joy. So have a lovely evening. I will do one of these again next week. Don't forget, set yourself a reminder. What's it called? Yeah, on YouTube. When are you uploading the full video? So what I will do is because it takes YouTube ages to do it. So I will get rid of all the nonsense at the start where I say hello, and I'll get rid of all the nonsense at the end with the quizzing, and I'll just do the teaching bit. So it takes a few hours, but I will have it on there by the end. Bye guys, it's been a pleasure. Take care. Have a lovely evening. See you all tomorrow. Bye and be good. See you later on.